taken over downtown Clearwater, Florida. These people are everywhere watching your every move. It's absolutely horrifying when you see it for what it really is. If anyone has any more information on this, let me know. But here's my story of the cult of Clearwater. But I'll be quick. If you're ready to suspend your disbelief and become fully immersed in today's adventure, you found your new favorite channel. We post once a week, but there's plenty on the channel to binge. So if you're ready, like the video for good luck, because you're gonna need it. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Enjoy the show. So a few years ago, my friend Ebro and I decided to go on a little boys trip to Clearwater, Florida. We stayed on Clearwater Beach, which isn't actually downtown Clearwater. It's a little island off the coast of Clearwater, but the place is absolutely stunning. It was very fun the first couple days, but by the third day, we decided to go get dinner in downtown Clearwater. We thought the easiest thing to do would be to take an Uber into the city, and all we did was look up a really nice restaurant on Yelp. The place looked lively and great with a good ambiance and quality food, but once we pulled up in the Uber, the place was completely closed down. We didn't want to pay any more for the Uber to take us somewhere else. It was a nice day out, and these windows were just boarded up of this initial restaurant, so we were like, whatever, let's just walk to our next location. There's a bunch of restaurants nearby. And mind you, we were on vacation mode. We were just having a good time. Taking a short walk to another restaurant doesn't mess up your energy. It doesn't mess up the vibe of the vacation. The first block into our walk, we didn't really think anything of it. We just thought we were on a quiet block in a very nice, well-kept city. But as we kept walking through this downtown area, the weirder the place got. This place was an absolute ghost town, and I really mean it. There was nobody on the street. It was bizarre. If I'm being honest with you, this place seemed borderline abandoned. It wasn't abandoned like I Am Legend, post-apocalyptic abandoned. It was actually super clean and tidy. It was more like Thanos snapped his fingers, and we hadn't realized that everybody had turned to ash. We were chatting for the first couple minutes of the walk, but once we started really taking in our surroundings, we had to acknowledge to one another that what we were witnessing here was a little bit weird, and we were a little bit on edge, because it got to the extent that the only other sound that we heard around us was the echoing of our voices. But our only option in that scenario is to just keep it moving. We know what restaurant we're going to. We're not going to call another Uber. It's not like there's violence going on. We might as well just keep walking. It didn't feel dangerous. It just felt weird. But the first sign of life that we saw was while we were passing this very large off-white beige building. There was a security guard out front of this building on his post. So we figured that this area is probably just filled with very secure buildings, and it just doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. But that was until we got closer to the security guard. We expected him to give us like a kind nod, or maybe just stand there firmly trying to intimidate us if he thought we were a threat. But this guy looked at us, got very awkward and nervous, and then scurried inside and locked the door behind him. And to be honest, in the moment, we laughed at that. We like hit each other on the arm and we're like pointing at him like, why is this guy acting like we're threatening and coming to break into this building? And why would a security guard be so scared of just two random dudes who are clearly on vacation? That was the first very odd occurrence, but what are we supposed to do? Like knock on the door and be like, hey, it's okay. He's just some random dude and we're going to get dinner. But even though that first interaction was kind of funny, kind of weird, the second thing that happened actually started to make us a little bit nervous, because the second block that we went down, we started to notice that all of the buildings in the area were this same off-white color. And since there was nobody else around and we're just standing on this empty street with zero foot traffic with these off-white buildings towering over us on each side, it started to give a bad
Imagine being able to build anything.
Feeling, because everything seemed so uniform and similar that in the back of your head you almost think that it's never going to end. And after we realized that all of these buildings are virtually identical, clearly built by the same contractor or same organization, we started to look a little bit closer at them, and we noticed that you couldn't see into any of the windows. They all either had blackout shades or were tinted with the reflective tint, so there was no way of seeing in unless you went all the way up to it and cupped your hands to look through. And on top of that weird uniformity of the buildings and the tints, you couldn't see into them, obviously, which meant that you couldn't see if there was anybody inside working. Because initially you think, oh, everybody's probably just in the middle of their workday, and that's why nobody's on the street. But when you look into the buildings and you can't see anybody in offices, you're like, is this place a ghost town? Is it completely abandoned? Is this a nuclear wasteland? Are we not supposed to be here? And as these thoughts are going through my head, I see a glimpse of a little bit of movement about a half a block down. I saw a black gate door swing open on this empty block, and some dude wearing all black just sprinted out of this gate. Not walking, not running. This man was absolutely sprinting, and he was just going straight across the street.